Living is what comes to mind when I think about Chicago chef Bill Kim. From his creations of tasty ramen at Urbanbelly in the Wicker Park neighborhood to the dumplings and Korean barbecue beef at Time Out Chicago Market on West Fulton Street, Chef Kim is a legend in his own time. His is a story of family, his roots in Korea, and putting his talents to use for the greater good of others. I'm so excited to share his story. Welcome to this edition of Supper with Sylvia. Okay, everybody, welcome. I am so excited. I am with Bill Kim of Urbanbelly. And Bill Kim, you are one of just a handful, and I'm going to say three, I'm not going to name the other two, of chefs in Chicago that are so near and dear to my heart. Whenever I see you, I just get this good, warm feeling inside. I just think you're incredible. I just want you to know that.
Well, thank you. And you're our favorite newscaster. And we go back a long ways. And it's, whenever we see each other, it's greetings and it warms my heart to see you.
It warms my heart too. You and your wife, Yvonne, who I love. Okay, I want to know, here you are with us today. How are you doing? What have you got going on?
Well, we have a lot going on. About a month ago, I came back from Korea. So we opened up 4 restaurants in Incheon, which is an hour away from Seoul. It's our new project that we started in January. So I got to spend about a week there, refining the menu, getting to know the local culture a little bit further than I have when I was a child, and just working with a great team out there.
That is so exciting. And we're going to talk about that a little more in just a minute. But talking about when you were a child, I want to delve into how you became this amazing chef and person that you are today. Give us a little background about when you first discovered your love for cooking.
Well, I think it goes back to my childhood always. I was born in Seoul. When I was about 5 years old, my mom, if I could put it in a little caption of, we didn't have gas stoves back then. I'm 55 now, so we had what's called yuntan. It's coals that you actually put into almost like an earthenware oven. And my very first thing that I cooked with her, a lot of help from her, was packaged ramen, which is crazy. And I remember that as a kid. And my mom always used to give me stuff to taste. I don't know why she did that, but I was her taste tester for everything that she's made. And that really ingrained in my head that, taking care of others and having people be part of the family. So that was my very first thing as a little kid, helping my mom and tasting for her.
So how long were you in Seoul before you guys came to the United States?
2 years later, so I was 7. And the whole story is my parents wanted to give us a better chance in life. I didn't know any better, but I knew, of course, I had to come with my parents. But I was just starting school, and my schoolmates wrote like these letters. They're heart-wrenching and said, we don't want you to go, we want you to stay. And I remember that, and coming here was very traumatic because I was taken away from having a life in Korea with lots of friends, and getting on a plane my very first time, and the very first time eating pumpernickel, egg salad, and I'm just like, what is this, like chocolate bread? And I still remember to this day when we landed in LA. It's this like chocolate bread with eggs. I'm like, I gotta have this.
It's so good.
Next thing you know, well, it wasn't good for my stomach because when I got on the flight, like 40 minutes later, I'm like, I need that back. It didn't settle well in my stomach. So, but that's how I started. And we had a layaway in Hawaii, in LA. And I was thinking, like, this is great. Maybe this is where we're going to live. And obviously, we landed in Chicago in February of 1977, and it was the blizzard of 77. And she's like, this is where we're going to live. I'm like, oh, no.
Oh, wow. You came in the blizzard of 77. What a story.
Yeah.
Okay, it
Yeah.
figures you would come roaring in because you've had such a huge impact on our city. So, what was your first restaurant job?
My very first restaurant job, I did terrible. I was considered a dishwasher slash lunchtime cook. And the people who taught me, they weren't, and I'm not gonna name names. They treated me like I was nothing, and it just really kind of drove me. I got to clean the bar, wash dishes, and cook. The chef was in the office the entire time, and I was getting pushed around in the kitchen, and it wasn't really my cup of tea. And that was right after I went to a junior college called Triton Junior College in River Grove. And I felt like I needed a little bit more to help me get over the top. So I decided to take a year off, save some money, and decided to go to Kendall College to kind of up my level of education and really get proper training that I thought I was missing, and did that. And my second job was Latiki the Perry. His name is Chef Pierre Plun, and it really gave me a chance to kind of, work in the right system, work with people, teamwork, and that really gave me the courage to travel and work with some other great chefs that kind of gave me the path and confidence to excel in what I do currently.
It's interesting too because you were probably here doing this at a time where Korean food was not necessarily plentiful, was it?
Zero. Well, mom and pop places for sure. There were a lot, but elevated or just even a modern take on Korean food, there really wasn't any. And that really made me think about who I was, what I wanted to do. But early on in my career, I just wanted to learn from the best. And that was my goal. Have to work at the 4-star restaurants, really get my career set and work with some great chefs that's going to mentor me and have me see different things, not just United States, but around the world. And I got to have the opportunity to do that.
And I know one of those chefs, shortly after you graduated from Kendall, was Charlie Trotter. I'm amazed at how many Chicago chefs were trained by him. You were young. You were in your 20s. What was that like?
Whirlwind, eye-opening, very motivating, inspired, all the things that you would want as a young cook. Having foods from all over the world come at your fingertips, work with the best ingredients, work with the best people, best equipment. So that just kind of gave me the path to see what it felt like to be in the best environment with the best and talented people and challenge yourself every single day.
So you were with him for a while, then you left, and then you came back, right?
I did. I did. I like to call it 2 tours of duty, and it was tough because I got to go outside of the bubble, which meant not every restaurant after the first time they didn't order the best. We didn't have the most talented people, and we had a leader that was very inspiring to us and then the entire team. And when I got a chance to come back home, and I consider Chicago my home, I spent 10 years in the East Coast, and Charlie did give me the call and asked me to come back. And there was no second guessing. And I wanted to come back home because Chicago is where my parents and my brother and my nephews all live. So it was like something of a homecoming back.
So what did you learn from him, would you say, that you still have with you today?
I think, most people think it's about food. It was definitely about food, but what I learned from the most from him is the gift of giving, which meant you go outside your restaurant and see and how you could help others. And he did that in so many different ways that still inspires me today. And all the people that have worked with me, and I try to instill that on them. It's bigger than one. It's bigger than a name, bigger than a restaurant. It's your environment, your community, and you got to be able to affect it somehow, some way. Especially if you're doing the food, you got to tell a story with food, not just be the best cook possible. It goes beyond that. We have a responsibility to ourselves and our restaurant community to do more than just run restaurants.
And that's what you do every day, I think. I truly believe that that's what makes you stand out. So you're with Charlie Trotter, but there's something inside of you that by this point you're thinking to yourself, I want to start my own place.
I think it was more like I wanted to work for myself. Charlie always instilled that you don't work for me, you work for yourself. And I got to the point where I spent enough time. I wanted to make sure that I had all the education that I had in front of me, because it kind of takes me back to when I first started. I didn't felt like I had enough. After close to 20 years of, running kitchens for other people, it was time for me to kind of spread my wings. And we, as in my wife, we decided, what is that we want to do? We could always do exactly what we were taught. My wife worked in fine dining in the front of the house. And obviously I had my career. So the natural progression should have been, I should have opened up a fine dining restaurant.
Right.
We had some backers, and they asked if we wanted to do, and Charlie actually offered to help. And I said no, because I wanted to do it and do it for myself. And looking at what we have, looking at the restaurant community, the one thing that was missing was a casualness about Asian food, and also having an in-depth, almost a menu dedicated to what cooks like to eat or they could afford. And that's what I was looking for when I was a cook, that we wanted something affordable, flavorful, accessible to my friends and my fellow cooks and their family. So we decided to do 3 things that I love: rice, noodles, and dumplings. That was the business plan: noodles, rice, and dumplings. And I thought we could just open it anywhere and people will come, long as it was reasonable and it was really tasty. I thought perfect location would be, where Yvonne grew up in Logan Square. And we kind of chose that location because there was a laundromat and dry cleaners, and we could wash our aprons and towels next door.
That makes sense. Perfect reason to open there, right?
Yeah.
And what year was that?
2008. And we all remember what happened in 2008.
Yeah.
And people thought we were crazy to do it in the downturn of the economy. But I'm just like, you know what? I think it's the perfect time. And I remember this vividly. My wife said, "You're not alone, and we're going to jump off the cliff together." And us together as a family, it was my wife, my brother, my mother-in-law, my mom, everybody helped out. My sister-in-law helped design the logo and the restaurant. So it was a family affair, no outside money, no investors. It was everything on the line in that little strip mall.
Wow.
And we just did it with, and I know, Cedric Harden, Wilfredo Bravo. These are guys who work with me. They were my sous chef at a restaurant that I used to run at Leilon. And I said, if I'm cooking, if Will's cooking and Cedric's cooking, and we only had 3 stations, there's no way the food's not going to be good, because we are, we're looking at each other. If we spin, and you can see each other's back. That's how small it was. If you can imagine 1,000 square feet.
Wow.
With 4 10-foot communal tables that sat a total of 24 people.
And Urbanbelly was born. Where did the name come from?
We always want a little bit more. I like to say, dig a little deeper, know a little bit more than just, surface. So the name itself, the belly, is from the mother's womb, right? Everybody's born from the mother's womb. So we wanted the modern take on the modern woman. So Urban Belly, the bellies for mothers, sisters, ladies. So we wanted a deeper meaning. So Urbanbelly.
I love that.
Yeah. We could optimize the U and the Google search too. So
you really thought about this.
2008. Yeah.
Interesting. I heard that you're mentioning some names of people that you've worked with that continued in in your career. And I heard that you still have some people you originally started the business with that are working with you today. Is that still true?
Yes, very much so. The thing I love the most, and also another thing is the restaurant business. Everybody thinks it's food. It's actually incorrect. It's about people. The people who work with you, the people who come to your restaurants. If we didn't have people spending money and celebrating their holidays with you, we wouldn't have a restaurant. These people, I've seen them date, get married, have kids. That's the thing that I'm most proud of.
Mm.
Food's great, but it's the people and them actually seeing their family grow and seeing them grow as a person. I think that's the thing that also Charlie had showed me because he really had his entire family come. And I remember his mother used to come, Charlie Trotter, used to pass out candies on Saturdays. And it was just perfect to see that and have his son, Dylan, who I'm still friends with. And we actually went to dinner, saw the entire family at Next during the Charlie Trotter dinner that's happening now. And just all these things as I get older, I get very sentimental about my memories and my career, my parents, my nephews. I want everybody to be a part of what I've done. And I didn't have a chance when I was up and coming as a cook. I didn't spend a lot of time with family. So as I move forward, my nephews get to work at the restaurant. Any kind of events that I do, I want them to be a part of it so they kind of see what I do. And I get to see my parents and talk to them, have breakfast with them. And it's all the things that I didn't get to do as a cook because I was so immersed in my career. Now, looking back, I want to be able to share the time and catch up on the times that I lost.
I love that. And I love that you not only do this with your own family, but your wife's family. Yvonne, she's Puerto Rican. And another reason why I love her.
Yeah.
And you have actually kind of brought those two communities together. And that was part of your cookbook, too. Let's talk about the first cookbook. Let's talk about your first experience with Puerto Rican food and how you've managed to mesh these things together.
Yeah. So I think it's 19 years ago when Yvonne and I met. We actually met at Charlie Trotter's. My very first Thanksgiving with, I call her name is Dolores, but we call her Lola, but I call her Doe for short. And we had our first Thanksgiving at her house. And, she lives in Palmer Square. She's been there for 36 years. It's in Logan Square. And really, she cooked the Thanksgiving turkey breast because there's only 3 of us back then. She put this lechon marinade, which is usually for pork or pernil. But since we were 3, she would take the chicken or turkey breast and put the lechon marinade. She would make tostones and arroz gandules and abacate, potato salad. And that just really, I was like, wow, what are these crispy bananas or plátanos, right? And she's like putting this raw garlic on there. I'm just like, oh my God, this is so good.
It is.
And the aha moment is the day after the tostones and the turkey. I got to put it and made a sandwich. And I'm just like, this is so good. And I think we should do a restaurant that's just predicated on plantains and some kind of cooked meat. And a year later, we had a restaurant called Belly Shack. And we said, it's a love story told through food. It was Asian and Latin. Everything that we did, we wanted to tell our love story there. And Yvonne does not cook, and she would admit that 100%.
Yeah, she's told me that many times.
Her mom is a great cook, and with that, we wanted to tell and we wanted to visualize some recipes of hers, some of the inspiration that I got from my mom, and we wanted to put into a accessible book that anybody could use and get ingredients from anywhere they want and be part of people's daily cooking that they do. Because I think when people buy the soy sauce or fish sauce or sesame oil, they're like, we're going to cook Asian. And once that date is over, they put it in their pantry until the next time they cook Asian. I was like, no, we could cook Asian every day. You don't have to call it Asian, but you could, we call it Korean.
Yes, thank you. I
Korean
love that.
and Puerto Rican. So
That's
you
the
can
best.
mix and match what you do and use it in leftovers and be able to make accessible Asian food or Korean food if you want to.
I love it. And you're still doing that today. That is a great story. Have you trademarked that name yet?
I think we bought that name.
Yay!
And we do have it. So we call our Instagram Korean Adventures when we go on vacation.
Okay. Love it. Okay. So you're someone, you've already talked about this, who loves to give back. And I love that every year you do your Chef's Giving. Tell everybody how that started, what's involved, and how did that come about?
I think it came about 6 years ago. Inspiration Kitchen is in East Garfield Park. The organization asked me to come and do a little collaboration and do a small dinner. And I've never went to East Garfield Park, and it was a little strange because after you pass Western, we had a restaurant on Randolph and Ogden. It's not so far away. It's probably like 3 miles. And there is this street Western. And once you go west, after that, it just becomes a whole different world. It's no longer restaurants, no longer United Center. It just becomes this neighborhood that it's been forgotten. And it's on Lake Street in Kedzie, a little more east. And here's Inspiration Kitchen, beautiful park across the street. And nobody's there, even though Garfield Park Conservatory is like 4 blocks away. And I'm just like, why aren't more people coming? And the dinner was great. Some people showed up, but I'm just like, I want more of my friends and family to be able to come to this neighborhood and share meals of their childhood and their holidays. So we decided to do Chef's Giving and bring their favorite holiday meals, not something that is just popped onto a platter, but it's actually their favorite thing. So we had Sarah Gertberg to do Aunt Bee's hash that everybody loves, and it's her take on her favorite holiday meal. And we had Tony Briolo. We had Kevin Hickey's of the world. I think first year Mindy brought some pastries from Mindy Siegel from Mindy's Bakery, and just had these tremendous meals that was all given away in the people in the neighborhood. And they come with bags and they could eat. But the one thing I asked our collaborators and chefs to be able to eat with the people in the neighborhood. So that was a must. Even though they gave us the meal, but I want them to share the meal in the people in the neighborhood. And it was a beautiful thing to see. We did that for 5 years. I think this year we're going to do something a little bit different. We're actually going to try to work with the Greater Food Depository and do the same thing, volunteer, packing food there. Then I want to take care of the people who actually take care of others. So there's about 300 people that work at Greater Food Depository. So we're going to try to do a meal for everybody on their staff. They do it every single day. And sometimes I think for us during the holidays, we think about people in need, but they do it every single day. So I want to give back to them, say thank you so much for taking care of others.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Okay. So family is so important to you. Your heritage is so important to you. Tell us what you have going on, because I know you've been opening some things up in your motherland of Korea, right?
Yeah. So January, we opened up a place called Inspire Resort and Casino in Korea. It took probably about 4 years to get the deal together, but with myself, and I'm a partner at Cornerstone Restaurant Group, that's really helped me to expand and see the bigger thing. It's not just me. There's a whole team that really takes care of a lot of the things that I'm not good at. And I think that's the bigger picture of restaurants, that there are, I call them the powerhouse, and our home office where we have accounting, we have marketing team, these people that do the backbreaking work of what you don't see every day in the operation, it's basically they are the bread and butter of a restaurant, and they really help to be able for us to expand and go to different countries and do different things. But without them, we cannot. I could not do anything without them. So that's the bigger thing. And in general, to be able to be in the homeland, going back, I've been only twice back since I was a teenager, and for me to go back 5 times in 1 year and be able to work with the team over there, tons of Zoom. Once a week we have Zoom catch up of like 6 o'clock here, it's 8 o'clock there in the morning. So we are communicating and just making sure things are needing to be where they're at. And I feel like since I'm Korean, I should know, but the culture has changed. It's sped up so much, and people want delicious food. Sometimes with different takes on a traditional food that I don't really know about until I get there, and sometimes it's too late. So we are constantly communicating and knowing what is happening in Korea.
So what kind of foods are you making there?
We have a Korean fried chicken concept called high fried chicken and beer. So it's our take on Korean fried chicken. We have 5 different flavors. We also use that same chicken with stir frying items and also in ramens, sandwiches. We also have a brasserie that's in the resort that my early career I spent in French cuisine. So it's our take on that. And next we're going to actually add some Korean traditional street food, and we're going to do a modern take on it at high fried chicken. So that's coming up. So I'm going back probably in November to kind of work on that with them. And we have Michael Jordan's Steakhouse. We have MJ's 23 in Korea, which is the very first one outside of the United States.
Wow. Okay. And speaking of Korean food, the last time you and I got in a great conversation about the fact that you are trying to restore some of your family recipes. Tell our listeners what you've been doing with your parents' recipes and what your plan is for that.
So my dream is to work with my mom and really get her recipes and do a modern take on her recipes, but we will also have her traditional recipes that she does. So one of the things I do, I try to go see my mom every Saturday. So before work, or if I can, I could swing by. And she always asks me what I want to eat. And it sounds like I'm demanding, but it's her love to me when she cooks for me. So she usually makes a stew. We have what's called panchans or condiments, and she has some kind of protein. And this is all for breakfast, by the way.
Big
so
breakfast.
No cereal at the house, but I take pictures of all the foods that she has made. And I've collected probably 6 years of that. Wow. And I'm going to keep on collecting these things. I gave her Google Sheet and basically say, hey, Mom, can you type in some recipes? She's like, sure. She hasn't done one page yet. So
I was going to say.
I think I might.
Because with moms, you have to watch, right? They don't really, they always say, I can't write this down. It's in my head. So are you watching closely to see what she's doing? And can you actually duplicate her flavors?
Not really. In Korean, it's called son. Son means hand.
Okay.
Mat means taste. She always says son mat. That means you're going to measure with taste.
Okay.
So I do watch her. I try to write things down. But she's like, this is how you do it. And it's just like any mom. You're just like, okay, you just put this together and put that together. She's hyper aware. It's a funny story. Like, if it's in the Korean newspaper, it's the law. So whenever she reads the Korean newspaper and she sees something, that goes. So she's cut out all refined sugars.
Oh.
So there's no white sugar at the house, no white rice.
Wow.
Because the Korean newspaper say it's not good. She will tell me that, and she would clip it out and send it to me. So she's very, very health conscious, and so is my dad. But it's crazy because my dad and my relationship has always been, when I call my mom, he's like, hey, how's it going? Here's your mom. Yeah. Now, since I got into this business, my dad's been watching like K-dramas, Korean dramas, or Korean food TV. So there's that connection of me and him
Mm.
actually talk about food. He's opened up a lot since I wrote the cookbook. He tells me how he grew up, when he went to the military, because it's mandatory service in Korea.
Hmm.
And he's like, oh, I remember when I was stationed here. This is what I ate. This is what your grandmother, how she grew up. So this business has really reconnected me to my parents even further. And we share those memories. And when my mom cooks in the morning, it's us talking about food and how we get along. And she asks me about my days, but I also talk about Korea. So there's this constant reconnecting and who I am, where I'm going, and who they were in the past. So it's this cultural exchange between what I thought I missed out on, and now as an adult, to be very sentimental
Mm.
and see them and reconnect with them, have breakfast. I could never do that if I was in the East Coast.
Yeah.
So I'm so happy that I got to come back.
Yeah, that's such a beautiful thing. So you're taking pictures, you're watching how she does things. Is it for a future cookbook that you have coming on?
That's what I'm hoping, or even I could give out the recipes away because I think cookbook is it's a mountain to lift.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work, and I think I would just one day just maybe on social media or something,
Hmm.
I would like to start putting these out there so people could share and learn.
Hmm.
Who would not love a braised short rib with daikon and a little bit of chestnuts?
Hmm.
That it's from a mom that's been doing it for 50 plus years.
Hmm.
I think they'll be fun, and the whole way of sharing without any kind of a reward or a monetary exchange. I think it's a beautiful thing to do and be able to
Hmm.
share the memories beyond myself.
Yeah. What does that mean to you to be able to do something like that? Food is such a personal thing. And like you said, it's more than just what you consume. But what does that mean for you as a chef, as someone who's maybe getting a little more sentimental as the years go by, to not only be able to help others, but to reconnect with your family and to provide things to other people that makes them happy and brings them together?
I think that's everything. That's you can get accolades, you can get stars, but when you can make somebody happy, that's everything. When you put a smile on somebody's face, we always like to see people have come up to me in the past where they're like, yes, that was my first day. Actually, we got engaged there,
Oh.
got married, had kids, and the kids actually bring the grandparents, and grandparents start bringing kids. It's this full circle of life and people coming together. And that's part of the reason that we have the communal table at Urbanbelly, because we have strangers that never met each other from different parts of the neighborhood come together and break bread. That's a beautiful thing,
Mm.
and that's what I like to see,
Yeah.
and to be a part of that and bring happiness and joy. I love cooking. I love our chef friends. But when you could do that and be in people's lives in that way, I could be done.
Yeah, that's great. Do you have any future plans to open any new spots?
Um, I don't know about opening new ones. Maybe more opportunities in Korea,
Mm.
but I would love to teach others about business, what it means to run a restaurant profitably. Also tech driven. I think a lot of modern ways of managing the restaurants now.
Mhm.
It's all coming. We have an AI prep assistant system that's in our kitchen at Urbanbelly. We're probably one of the first ones in Chicago to have that a lot of people don't know about. That's going to help with getting more of a profit margin and knowing that is helping restaurant businesses because as the prices increase, as our labors get higher, the profit margins that we have, if you make a profit margin, it gets even lower and lower.
Mhm.
And this is a way to kind of help the chefs and also managers be able to maintain their business and keep track.
That's so great because restaurants open and close all the time. And I think when you have a dream that you have this great idea for a restaurant, so many times for the chef, that's their job is to create this beautiful, wonderful food. And the business side can just put that dream to an end.
100%. And I think I love cooking, but I also love collecting data and analyzing it and talking with the team. Our cornerstone and I really develop a full, robust management contracts that we do. People want to see the playbook. They want to see the profit margins. They want to see recipe books. And these are all things that you need to have to be successful. We could run it like, hey, I could cook and show people how to cook, but they also have to visualize what they're cooking. And once you buy something, if you make an entree for like $3, you can't sell it for $6. It's just not going to work. And people just need to know that should be all established prior to you open up the restaurant, not when you're like, oh my God, we can't pay the rent and we still have to dig deeper and create a plan for that. So that's what I really enjoy, and really enjoy teaching others and being able to spread these new technologies, new modern equipment that people should understand and know that it's coming. Because I think I consider myself an older chef, and I don't want time to pass me by. I want to be able to adapt and know there are things out there to help you to cook better, organize better, and run your restaurants better. And I'm not going to be the person who's going to stand behind the stove every single day, but we want our cooks and our sous chefs and chefs to have these tools to be able to have other things in their lives flourish, not just be in the kitchen 16 hours a day.
Yeah.
That doesn't work. It's broken. We know that. So these are helpful tools that are coming to help others to run their business more efficiently.
To succeed. Okay, that's great advice for anyone who's listening that is thinking about opening a restaurant or currently has one. I want you to give some advice to our listeners. If they come to a Bill Kim restaurant, we have the table, Crate and Barrel over in Oak Brook now. We've got your two places over at Time Out Market. And then, of course, we have Urbanbelly. Yes. What is Bill Kim's favorite item that you make that maybe someone who's never been to your place, if they can only try one thing, what would that be?
Coconut pho at Urbanbelly. It's just something that does not exist. It exists in my mind. It's a take on coconut soup that you get in Thailand and the Vietnamese pho, and you're putting it together. And it's humble ingredients that really has maximum flavor. To me, it's medicinal. A lot of ginger, a lot of garlic, coconut, lime juice, a little fish sauce. We serve it with lemongrass chicken and rice noodles. So my wife is gluten-free, so I dedicated that to her. And it's the melding of flavors, right?
Okay.
To take two things, instead of calling it fusion, it's melding, harmonious, and it goes well together. And there's a story behind it because it's the two countries that I love, and it comes together. And it has crunchy from bean sprouts, and it's noodles that I love, and the broth is very medicinal, healthy, and I love that. So the coconut pho.
Okay.
And Urbanbelly fans will know exactly what I mean.
Right.
And that is something that's really, really dear to my heart, and it's one of our signatures.
Okay. And now something that's not one of your restaurants, I want to ask every chef, and I want to ask you, what's your favorite go-to spot in Chicago, whether it be, some place that no one's ever heard of, or maybe it's some place that a lot of people have heard of, but when you want yummy food, maybe it's comfort food, maybe it's not, where do you go?
I kind of knew you were going to ask that. It's really hard because one of the things I don't try to do, I don't try to go to restaurants when I'm off, but I do. You're going to laugh at me, and people are going to laugh. So I've been living in Pilsen for almost 20 years. When it's my downtime, I like to go to this place called Pollo Express, and it's a grilled adobo chicken that is delicious. And we get avocado, rice, and beans, and we just love it. So that's one go-to place that I go to. I love Italian food. I love it. Sirberg Monteverde is one of my favorites. I also love and adore Javi and Kevin Hickey. So the Duck Inn, it's great.
Yeah.
It's in Bridgeport. It's right by our house. So that's another place. Gene Cato from Mamotoro. And I also want to go to the newer restaurants, but we just don't have enough time. Margaret Park, I'm trying to remember her restaurant. Tattoo is the restaurant, I think.
Okay. So you have, I do remember you talking about Pollo Express, by the way. I need to try that now. Okay. So you've already left quite a stamp on the city of Chicago. And I know there's a lot more in your future. You're so involved with everything. You know, people walk away from either meeting you or getting to know you or eating at one of your restaurants. I know you're so humble in so many ways, but what's your end goal? What do you want people to leave with?
I'm a giver. I'm a teacher. Also, I want to know that it's not about me. It's about others and service, right? Service to other. I think you could be a talented cook, you could be a talented chef, but that's one thing. And as I get older, I look at like, what can I do after what I do? And that's what I want to do. I want to be able to teach others. Yvonne and I talked about this, and we do have a plan of what we want to do and how we want to give. We could tell you that when we meet each other again, but just it's about setting others up and giving information out instead of holding. And I think a lot of older generation wanted to hold and have the information, but there's a lot of chefs who call me about certain equipment. It's all given, and it's just, we want to be able to leave the door open for the next generation to make it better for them, so they don't have to do the things that we have done or not be healthy, or if it's a chiropractor or a doctor that we could share. We want to give out information, and I think that's our generation, that we should leave the door open for the next generation so they do that for others.
Well, Bill Kim, I can't wait to see what the future will bring. This is why I love you and Yvonne, because you guys are so giving. I'm so honored that you did this with me, and I look forward to seeing what's next and spending some time with the two of you. So thank you again. It means a lot.
Thank you. This is an honor, so thank you so much for having me.
Well, we will see each other soon. More information about Chef Bill Kim in the show notes. Thanks for joining us for this episode of Supper with Sylvia. I'm Sylvia Perez. This podcast was produced by Jane Stevens with technical support and music by Donnie Cuddy.